What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon. I am back with you for another one. In this episode of Dolphins with Dillon, I don't really have a whole lot for you on my end. Mostly just interviews. It was Coordinator Thursday, so you got Adam Gase and Dow Loggins and Matt Burke and Darren Rizzi. So I got their interviews for you, their press conferences from today. But for my end, I just want to update you a little bit on some injury stuff, some injury report stuff for this week. Cam Wake and Bobby McCain were the only ones that have been out, so we don't expect them to play this week. Hopefully they come back to practice at least next week or, maybe tomorrow. But Andre Branch is practicing, Chase Allen's practicing, AJ Derby's practicing, Devontae Parker's practicing, everybody's practicing, pretty much everybody. Yeah, Laramie Tunsil is practicing, so that's good. Hopefully he can get cleared before Sunday to play, because if he can't play, that's gonna suck. But I know that they've been putting Zach Stirrup and Sam Young, both of them, in at left tackle. Personally, I'd rather them go with Zach Stirrup because he's a big man. I think he's like 6'8" or something like that. And I think he could probably hold down that left side a little bit better just in case Tunsil can't play. But anyway, so that's it. That's all I got for you guys. If you like the video, if you like the interviews and all that stuff, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you want the alerts, hit the bell. Make sure you leave questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. I love interacting with you guys. It's a lot of fun. I do this for you guys. And, so make sure you help me spread it around, help us grow. Help this community grow, help the channel grow. So, send it to your friends and family. Make sure you hit the like button and follow me on Twitter. My handle is on the end screen. It's at Dillon Tartaro. So with that, guys, I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.
And he's really in tune to what we're doing, and obviously, the physical traits that he have, makes him a little bit of a force there. So kudos to him, and another great job. Yeah, they called taunting. I mean, after the play went out of bounds, we got in his face, in the returner's face, which is not something we want to be doing. So,
I guess we saw you kind of get into his face a little bit. So, what was is that just kind of just showing your displeasure with?
Yeah, I just kind of told him it wasn't probably the most opportune time to get that penalty. There's never an opportune time to get a penalty like that, to be honest with you. And we talked about the weather a little bit, and talked about the, unseasonably warm day in Cincinnati, and probably that wasn't the best scenario for our team at that point. So, yeah, it was a couple of passionate people getting a little passionate at that time. We made a great play. We covered the ball real well and went out of bounds, and we just need to celebrate with our teammates, and that just wasn't really.
That's what you screamed at. You screamed, Martrell, this is an inopportune time for this less than ideal situation.
You can put the word cloud over my head. Whatever you want to put in there, you can put in the old bubble. But yeah, I just made it very clear that it's not a really smart thing to do at that point. So might have been a couple other things in there, in the old bubble.
We've seen, I guess, Jakeem take his second touchdown back.
Yep.
What sort of popped this one, and what have you seen from Jakeem this year that maybe wasn't last year?
Yeah, you know what? A couple things. One, as far as his teammates go, this is the second time now that we've had a return for a touchdown where you had everybody in the field really doing a good job. Jakeem did a tremendous job, tremendous individual effort by him. At the same time, you had 10 other guys really working hard. We did a really nice job on the left side on our vice on their gunner with Walt Aikens and Tankersley. We won the other vice with Mo Smith and Cornell Armstrong. Kalen Balaj had a really good big block at the point of attack. Stephon Anthony, Brandon Bolden, Sonoris Perry, Chase Allen, all these guys coming to mind. Cameron Malveaux had a really good rush off the edge, which kind of forced a punt not to be more of a directional deal. So really, we call it 1/11th, all guys working together. It was kind of a really neat thing to see. We really ran the play that we had called. We executed it very, very well, and Jakeem did the rest. And obviously, great individual effort to go ahead and get in the end zone and not step out of bounds and score. The second part of your question, what have I seen this year? Jakeem's a guy that just continues to get better and better at the return game. He got criticized a lot his first year here for not maybe being the best punt returner, and it's something he's really taken personal, and he's worked at it time and time again. You guys have probably noticed in our practice, there isn't a guy that I've seen work at his craft more than I've seen Jakeem really work at the punt return game. So it's really neat for me to see him go out there and have success, because I know how much time and effort he's put into this thing. It's not just one of those things where he goes back there and fields the ball and runs. He's really studied the punters. He's studied himself. He's learned how to become a better punt returner. He's not afraid to ask questions to a guy like Danny Amendola, who's been doing it for years, and kind of get a little feedback from him. And so, it's been a work in progress for him, and he's really just been arrow up the entire time he's been here in terms of his punt returning skills. So, I know how much time he's put in on and off the field, and so it's nice to see. We all know he has the athletic ability. We all know what he can do in the open field. We all know he can make people miss. But that's a really unique skill, punt returning, and it takes a little time and effort. And so that the finer points of the game and the finer points of the punt returning is where Jakeem's really, really blossomed in these last couple of years, and I'm really, really happy to see that. I really thought towards the end of last season, he really had a really good second half. We didn't have a great first half in the return game last year, but if you go back and watch the second half of last year, we started to really trend upwards, and he's really just carried that over. So it's been nice to see.
Is it fair to say that you do have more confidence right now in terms of ball security in those backed up punt situations? What did you call it last time? When it's close to their goal line?
Yeah, when you're backed up. Yeah, those kind of going in punts, if you will, kind of those plus 50. Again, the nice thing for us right now is we have two options, and depending on the situation, you've seen this year, we've put Danny Amendola back there in a couple different situations. It could be the call we have called on. It could be the situation. As far as my confidence in Jakeem, I have 100% confidence in Jakeem, so he'll be back there in any situation. He's been back there and backed up when they're backed up, middle of the field. So it's just kind of it's nice to have a couple different options there. A little change of pace also for the opponent. Danny's been back there in regular situations and backed up as well. So again, you guys know that follow this team. I'm a big proponent of have as many options as you can, and it's nice for us to have a couple of them now.
How's Jason Sanders been progressing 5 games into his rookie year?
Yeah, I kind of really like where he is. He's a guy that like any rookie at any position. He's a guy that week after week after week is kind of learning on the run right here, just like any other position player. And as we go through games, we're going to get him more and more and more experience. That was the one thing coming in here. I never really questioned the talent with Jason. Just was the experience. He just didn't have it. He didn't have a ton of reps in college. Just for whatever reason, his coach went for a lot of times on fourth down instead of kicking field goals. And so the biggest thing with Jason was just kind of getting reps out here through the preseason and now through the regular season, getting him opportunities. But I've really seen him do a really nice job. I really like where he's at mentally. He's really fit in very well with Matt and John, and they got a nice little operation going right now. So I've been happy with his progression so far.
Is it tough to be a little more patient with rookies in that position because there's less of a margin of error?
It is. It's tough to be patient with any rookie, but certainly at that position, because I think it's more, with a position player, you maybe get a little more leeway on your curve, if you will, in terms of success. Punt kicker at that position, it's usually when you go out there, it's miss or make. It's yes or no. There's no gray area, if you will, in that way. But I've been really happy with his kickoffs so far. So we haven't had a ton of opportunities in field goals so far, the way the games have gone. But so far, I've been pleased with where he's at. But there is a little bit of a certainly with rookies at any position, but at that position, it is a little bit unique for sure.
Playing Cody Parkey, he had him last year.
Yep.
Not in a disrespectful manner, but is there something about the current kick you have right now that makes this unit feel more confident going in?
Well, let me say this. Cody Parkey is a hell of a player. I really enjoyed having him here. I have a world of respect for Cody. The situation didn't, turn out for whatever reason. He didn't end up back here. And I don't do the business side. I coach the players that we have in front of us. So that was more of a business thing. And at that point, we went out and found the best available option for us. And I really feel I'm really, really confident in Jason right now. Really like where he's going, and I'm kind of happy the direction we're going. That ship has sailed. I wish Cody the best in every game this year except this one. And but I'm really, really pleased with Jason.
Darren, when you got word back in March that Cody had received a very large offer from Chicago, were you tempted to call him and say, "Don't take the money," or did that thought never go through your mind, or did you call him?
Well, let me say this: when the season ended last year, Cody and I had a lot of different conversations. And again, I'm not part of the business side, so those really aren't questions for me. But Cody and I had a lot of conversations about, where he was going into the process and all that stuff. And so we talked at length kind of going into the process, Barry. So I kind of knew where he was mentally. Again, I didn't know the exact numbers and all that stuff when I heard, am I going to sit here and tell you that I wasn't disappointed that he wasn't coming back? I was, because I like Cody. I like Cody as a player. I like Cody as a person. I certainly like him as a kicker. And so again, but hey, listen, you guys know this is my 10th season here. This is not the first time that, we didn't get it. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. And when this situation just didn't work out with Cody, but again, I hope him well in all the other games. So we'll see him on Sunday.
Coach K said, he said, Dowell has a way to kind of calm me down when I get a little too juiced up. What's the secret to that?
Same thing as with your players, knowing your personnel and being in that moment, what needs to be said to the team, or just finding a way to fill a gap and try to help and be part of it.
I want to ask you about third downs, which we've talked about
Yes.
for the past
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes.
If you know that, okay, getting third and manageable is the issue, if you know that, we can't have penalties, how come they keep happening?
I thought we did a better job in the first half last week. For that 2.5 quarters, played the way we wanted to. It was a lot of second 1-6s, and we did a better job in third down until late in the midway, 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and then we kind of fell apart fundamentally, didn't execute the way we should have. And, it always goes back to fundamentals most of the time when penalties happen. It's someone not moving their feet or not fitting their hands the correct way. And those are things that we need to get knocked out in practice on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays and individual. And it's important that you go out, and that's why practice is so important, is because if you don't take individual those 20 minutes really serious and fix the fundamental flaws you have or bad technique, then they show up on Sundays. And, we always talk about around here, game day or practice, practice execution becomes game day reality. And we got to clean that stuff up, and it needs to happen now.
When Kalen gets a couple plays from scrimmage, I imagine it's not because Frank and Kenyon are exhausted. Is it just because he showed you things in practice where you want to inject him a little bit?
Yes, sir. And that's Balaj's done a really good job to this point, becoming a pro. He's not there yet, but he's starting to learn how to practice. It takes a while as a rookie to come in and learn the system, and we're starting to feel comfortable with him. He's starting to feel comfortable with the system. And as he continues to grow, his role grow, and sometimes there's going to be plays that get called in the game that they're for him, and sometimes you don't get to him, but you have him. But as long as we can have him acting, he's doing his job in special teams, and he can help the offense, we're going to try to find a way to use him.
What do you guys do with Ryan to get him prepared for times of chaos like we saw in the fourth quarter on Sunday?
It really comes back to doing your job and going back to the fundamentals. A big part of that quarterback is the other 10 guys doing their job around him. That's how you get good quarterback play, and when things are going bad, when we get beat inside on about to give up a sack, you need to eat it and not turn the ball over, and be smart with it and understand that, if you end the series with a punt, sometimes that's what you have to do in those situations, but you can't let someone else's mistake become yours, and just rely on your fundamentals.
What did you think of the Kenyon Drake block on Lawson? I remember Lawson used to battle with Tunsil in the SEC, and then Drake on the screen pass. If he would have took the sack,
everybody would have been like, "Oh, he should have threw the ball away."
Chip, right?
Yeah, he did. And we talked about those chip blocks. Obviously, that's going to be a big. We're playing the team with good pass rushers like we did last week and every week. But when I first got here, I started watching tape and started studying these guys. That was one thing that stood out with 32 is does a really good job in pass pro, and he stuck his face in there, and he's aggressive when he has a chance to chip and do those things. He does a good job at those. And you're in 3rd and 16, and most time you're just trying to call a play, not to put your quarterback in a bad spot. And he does a great job chipping, getting out, and making a heck of a run after the catch. So it's a strength of his game. He takes pride in being part of the protection unit, and that's sometimes when sacks happen, it's not always just on the offensive line. It can be on the quarterbacks, receivers, and backs, and he takes a lot of pride in being part of that protection unit, being a strength for us.
Obviously, Juwan has a tough matchup this week with Lil Mac. What improvements have you seen from him, and what improvements would you like to see from him moving forward?
Consistency. He's done. I think he's played well to this point. He's done a solid job, but just the fundamentals, making sure he's playing with the base, not getting too narrow. He is a leggy athlete, so you got to make sure that you're sitting on things, especially versus guys that have speed to power and those things. That's the biggest thing he needs to continue to work on, and he has, and he's done a good job with it. But we just need a little bit more consistency.
When you face a matchup like that, do you see more focus in a player? Obviously, every week is a big week, but not the week you're playing the best pass rusher in the league.
Yeah, when these things come up, it's really like the game plan specific things. Like we need to be working on those techniques and fundamentals every week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day. But you do stuff in the game plan to help those players and make sure that you can. There's gonna be times when you're gonna have to block that guy one-on-one, and you try to do as much as you can with that guy that hopefully you give him a bunch of different looks and different things. And at the end of the day, you just gotta rely on your fundamentals.
That's good.
So you're not gonna? That's all right.
Matt, 8-part question.
Oh.
How did, I'm not gonna ask you about Jerome and Raekwon, we know they played well. Among some of your other young defensive players, how did Torrey grade out last week? How did Charles Harris do last week when you looked at tape?
Yeah, I think they both performed admirably for us. Obviously, both kind of played larger roles for us just due to the circumstances. Torrey was good. He competed. Really had kind of one play in the run game, one play in the pass game that he kind of got loose on. Other than that, he's really competitive, and with Torrey, it was good to see him firing up in the run game, which was good for him, and competing down the field in the pass game. I thought he played pretty well, and same with Charles. Obviously with Charles, you'd like to see him finish that sack or a couple. He had a chance to have a really big game. Played well for us, did a good job plugging in, and played with a lot of energy. Like it was probably one of the played faster than I'd seen him play in a while, which is good to see. You just like to see him finish a couple of those that he had his hands on Andy a couple times, but was flying around, which is kind of again like what we've been preaching to him is just go play fast, and so he kind of did that, which was good to see. So I was happy that both those guys kind of took advantage of their opportunities.
I wanted to ask you about your mindset or approach when you're facing a team that utilizes two backs in two different ways. How do you approach that as a play caller?
Like Chicago, we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, Miami too, but yes, Chicago.
I didn't know about Cincy, I'm trying to.
How do you have a specific set of plays for when this guy's in the game versus?
Yeah, I don't know if specific set of like calls or plays. You try to see how they're utilizing those players, not just backs, anybody. But obviously they have those two backs. Have different skill sets. The interesting thing with Chicago is and they do a good job. I think they do a pretty good job of sort of self-scouting. So I think they understand, we're looking at that, and so they try to balance it out. So it's not always like, hey, 24 goes in the game, and it's going to be this always power run game, and 29 goes in, and it's empty spread out. They do everything with both players, you know what I mean? So, it's not a game where you can just, oh, hey, 24's in, let's all load up and put 40 guys in the box, and 29's in, let's put 10 DBs on the field. Because they run the ball with 29, they pass the ball with 24. So you just sort of try to get a feel for how they're utilizing those players and what their strengths are. And again, anything on defense, you always just try to take away or do the best you can to take away or limit the strengths of the opposing offense. So. Yeah, we try to study sometimes some teams they have different play calls and are running, I don't want to say running different offenses, but really featuring different plays, with a different back in there. These guys do a pretty good job of trying to kind of mask that. So it's not as clear cut as some other weeks are.
I've always heard that the book on new head coaches or first time first time.
I got to get your book, man.
You'll know what they're running after about 5 games.
Yeah?
So rookie quarterbacks have a feel for what they're doing or the strengths and weaknesses. I guess that's not accurate.
I don't know. They've only played 4 games.
Yeah.
So maybe we're still in that book. So I still got one to play. This offense is, they're a unique offense. Obviously, it's got sort of some roots in some of the stuff that's going on in Kansas City, Philadelphia, and those sort of things. So, they dress up a lot of stuff. I mean, they've got a lot of motions and jet sweep actions, and again using the backs in different ways and putting guys out in different personnel groups. So, and every week, this offense is going to feature some sort of trick plays and gadget type stuff, and just unscouted looks are going to give you stuff that you haven't seen. So I'm not sure that we've seen all that they have to offer yet, to be honest with you. Again, especially coming off the bye week, I think all offensive coaches are saying you give them more time, they're going to start drawing up stuff in the dirt. So, I think I wouldn't say that it's sort of like, oh man, okay, we've seen all their tricks and now we're ready to hone in on it. I mean, I think we're preparing for some sort of, again, some unscouts we haven't seen, and you just try to sort of extrapolate out on what you're predicting, sort of where their next moves are and those sort of things. So this is a pretty expansive offense. Obviously, again, they have a lot of different ways to get the ball to different players. So I wouldn't say that I feel safe in assuming that we've seen everything they have to give.
Matt, we've seen obviously a ton of Minka. I think 42 of the 60 defensive snaps last week. That being said, has it entered your mind at all about, is there a way we can get him on the field every play? Is there a need to at this point? Has that thought process even crossed your mind?
Everything crosses my mind, probably. We're putting a lot on Minka right now already, as it is. He's, we've obviously, had some smaller injuries, in different spots back there. So, I just think we're conscious of not putting even more on his plate, too much on his plate too soon. I mean, we're asking a lot. I mean, we're plugging him in some different positions at both safety spots and nickel and those sort of things. So, he's a good player. We obviously want our good players in the field. So we're not necessarily trying to hold him back from that. But at the same time, there's a little bit of a diminishing returns. Putting too much on his plate. We don't want to take away from what he's already been good at and the things that he's doing and the progress he's making in certain spots. So, we're kind of giving him what we think he can handle. And again, I mean, I mentioned it last week. I mean, some of the stuff, play times and snap counts are a little bit dictated by what we're getting from the opposing team too. So, I'm not trying to get him off the field. I can promise you that.
Minka has a tendency to drop players for loss, especially on screen passes.
Yeah.
Seems like he diagnoses, reads, understands what's happening. What percentage of that do you feel is studying, and what percentage of that might be innate?
Do I have to put numbers on it, or can I just speak to it?
Or theory.
Okay. It's both. I would obviously, again, I think he is one of our better studiers. He's a student of the game. He loves it. He loves just absorbing ball and understanding the nuances of things. So I think he does, through film study and just, again, learning our defense and getting better in that realm of what we're asking him to do and where everything fits, from a big picture standpoint from our scheme. That frees him up to sort of know when he can take some risks and shoot his gun a little bit and do those sort of things. So, but I also think, one of the advantages for us of playing Minka down like at a nickel type spot is he's a bigger body in that role. So some of that screen game where you have perimeter screens and we feel that's a pretty good matchup with receivers trying to block him in the screen game. So some of that's a physical thing for us. We think that's a decent matchup in a lot of instances that he's a bigger, more physical nickel than a lot of teams get to play with. So, there's a little bit of, to us, a physical advantage to that. And again, I do think, he's getting a better understanding of our scheme and where his leverage and where his help is, so he knows where he can take his risk. And then he does do a good job of studying opponents and just getting a feel for the game. And I think this is something I've mentioned in the past with Mink. He's very good in game. Again, because there's going to be some things he still hasn't seen, or just some sort of nuances, like just again where he hasn't just gotten the the volume of plays, but as it happens in real time, he's very good at adjusting. And if he doesn't see something the first time on the field, he comes over, he looks at the pictures, and he kind of adjusts. So the next time something like that comes back up, he's ready to go. So I thought that, like in the Jets game, I think it was that happened, like where he actually had a screen that he misfit the first time. He didn't see it and it got out on us, and you bring him over, and then the next time it's a 2-yard loss. So he does a good job real time of kind of taking that feedback and seeing where maybe he wasn't right, and then it happens the second time. So
this past game, it seemed like it was more frequent blitzes and certainly more effective from you.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, okay. Take it back.
I was getting to the question.
Okay.
What sort of went into the thought process on, I guess, being more aggressive in there?
Yeah, well, obviously, and, two things. I mean, we were a little shorthanded from a player standpoint, so there was part of it that we felt just maybe needed to generate some things. Try to do some different stuff. I mean, some of it was we felt there were, we could take advantage of some things we saw in the protection game and those sort of things. I mean, that's just, it's part of the evaluation every week as you're game planning and you're studying. And you got to understand it. Anytime you're blitzing and sending more players into the rush, you're taking players away from the coverage element. So there's a risk to it. It's not just, oh, that's great, we should just call a million blitzes every play, or every game. So, when you go into a game, I mean, it was part of it of our personnel and certain matchups versus that personnel, and we felt we had, some calls that we could kind of get after them. So, I don't know, I couldn't tell you my like tendency numbers in terms of pressures, but just we felt like we had to generate a little bit more, kind of from a schematic standpoint, as opposed to just kind of let personnel work. So that kind of all that went into it.
You learn more, I guess, about guys in those situations as far as a blitzer, like we saw Jerome get a couple sacks when he was used.
Oh, shoot, he was free in the A gap. Let's not get carried away with Jerome here. I don't, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we hope to have a good feel. I mean, you do, I guess, like, as a blitzer, like, who's successful, and obviously, like a guy like Jerome, obviously finished 2 of those plays and got the quarterback on the ground, which is as important as anything, so, I would hope to think I'm not going to send guys that I don't feel like are good blitzers, so, but yeah, I guess you learn, if you send a guy and he has some success and you can generate some different things with him, and, again, the more threats to do that you have on the field, obviously the better it is, because whether you're sending them or dropping them or whatever, I mean, the more threats now, like, oh, hey, this guy 55, he can blitz a little bit. You got to be alert to him. He's not always just a cover backer. Now 47 comes and all of a sudden and 20 blitzes. Now, again, it helps anything else we're trying to do. Just if you're generating enough threats of blitzers on the field and they've had some success, then it leads to, just hopefully more, advantages for us.
Does whatever the offense have going on, like whether they're injured or banged up, or Gates talks to you, hey, maybe a little rougher week for us?
Our offense or their offense?
Your offense, like the Dolphins' offense, does that impact
No.
they call?
No. Nope. I try to shut out every team we play, and I'm assuming they're going to score 1 million points. So that's how we start our week. How's that?
With the turnovers, there's just such a huge difference.
Yeah.
Between this year and last year.
Yeah.
Outside of practice, focus on it. What has been the difference?
Man, I wish I had the answer to that, honestly. I think it's crazy. Again, the whole, like, speaking it into existence. I mean, you talk about having a point of emphasis. I mean, it's obviously something, and Adam has dedicated practice time to it. We've had specific periods every day almost for turnover periods and things that we're doing, and even it's been interesting. We spent a lot of time, like, talking about attacking the ball when we're tackling. We haven't had as many, like, fumbles. It's been obviously more interceptions. So I think that's, it's a lot of things. I mean, we've got good players in the back end, and we've got guys. Again, part of that's just the emphasis on being around the ball. I mean, because a lot of our picks have been tip balls and stuff gets knocked. I mean, obviously Kiko's, last week Rashad makes a nice break on it, and those sort of things. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope it's just, guys are flying the ball a little bit more, and so when those plays happen, that ball gets bounced up in the air, there's bodies around it to finish those plays. And, I feel good about the guys we have in the back end in terms of having good playmakers that can, Rashad's got a couple picks, TJ, obviously X, so I don't know if it's a multitude of factors. If I had to answer, I probably would have done it last year.
Have you ever thought, I'm just spitballing ideas
Sure,
here,
come on, throw it at me.
maybe it's the caliber of quarterback you're practicing against on the scout team? I mean,
I will say, obviously carrying the quarterbacks that we've carried, and Brock and David obviously work most of the scout team reps for us, and both guys that are veterans that have played, and they it does help. But we had Matt Moore last year, for some part of that, who does a good job, and that does help just in general, having a guy like Brock, who's obviously played in the league and knows, he can look at a card and know what we're trying to get out of it and where the ball should go, and how you can tell him, hey, this is the coverage we're playing, so try to look this guy off and come back to this, and he can kind of execute that. So we've been good, man. I'll just, if you want me to expand on that a little bit, just to give a little shout out. I mean, our scout team's been great, man. Especially we've been shorthanded a little bit these last couple weeks. I mean, all our starting receivers are taking reps on scout team for us. Maybe one period, but Kenny will jump in there, Albert will jump in there, Jakeem. It's been really cool to see. So all those guys feel that hey, we're in this together, and literally Kenny will start a scout team period and take maybe one rep off the receivers, you know what I mean? But he'll run a deep route for us, so we can kind of obviously get a pretty good look at someone running through our defense. So, man, those guys have been doing a really good job. But having a quarterback that can kind of operate in a sort of a system and knows what you're trying to get as a defense out of that look or out of that play, that certainly helps.
Had you and Coach Chris felt after Sunday that it was the same level of efficiency and production with a three-man defensive tackle rotation, plus a little bit of Charles Harris, as you asked Coach Gase about today, and compared to four, obviously, when Jordan was here, and you felt like there was a drop-off because of tiredness late in the game, or did you guys conclude we're just as effective with three primarily instead of four?
I mean, I think it's probably harder. It's probably more difficult on Chris than anybody else, just trying to manage that. You know what I mean? Again, when you have more bodies, it's easier to keep guys fresh, and just waving guys out there and stuff. I think it puts a lot more on him to make sure that he's not letting one guy wilt on the vine out there, for 10 plays at a time. And we had obviously a lot more success on third down last week, so we had some shorter drives, so it's easier, when you're playing in that world, when you're going 3 and out, or when you have shorter drives, you get stops on third down. So where you don't have those extended drives, so that helped. So I thought we did a good job of managing that group last week, and ideally, ideally I'd have 46 defensive guys up, but so I would say again, those guys battled. They're warriors, man. Honestly, our whole defense last week, I thought, just from that stand, we kind of went in shorthanded. We were banged up, and the effort and the energy level was outstanding. And guys that weren't feeling great that played, and guys we were shorthanded at D-tackle, and I didn't hear a word about it. They just, so credit to the tackles for just, they went out and knew they had a job to do, and they battled every play. And like I said, I think it was probably more difficult on Chris just managing that, and we helped ourselves out from a whole unit standpoint in terms of not being out there as long, and we had 20 less plays than we had the week before, which is easier to manage, rotation when you're playing 60 plays instead of 80. So it's probably a lot of factors there.
Man, a couple more guys.
Yeah, sure.
In that same sense.
Good. Go ahead.
In that same sense, for how that game ended with offensive turnovers,
Yeah.
was there a message, or do you feel like you needed to share a message with the defense because of how that game ended last week?
No, the message is, we didn't play well enough to win. We left plays on the field. We did some really good things. Like I said, I thought they kind of had that warrior mentality, which I was really proud of. But there were plays to be made, and we always preach about it. Doesn't matter, what's going on the rest of the game and those things. There's always meat on the bone, and we left plays on that field that, people think I'm crazy maybe, but there's a couple plays that turn that game around if we make those plays, and we made a lot of plays, and we got some stops and did some. We improved on the third downs. We had pretty decent red zone defense. We did some things like that in areas that we're trying to work on. But the message was, man, we left plays on the field that we could have done something to turn that game around, and we don't control what happens on the other side of the ball, and that's not our world, and that's nothing that we concern ourselves with. So the message is, if again we want to be an elite defense, then we got to clean up the plays that we can clean up on our side of the ball.
Last question.
Oh, yes.
You said that you guys have turnover periods in practice.
We do.
I'm just curious what specifically you guys do that's unique to those periods.
Yeah, well, it's different.
The quarterbacks throw interceptions, throw poorly thrown balls.
No,
Going for those things?
no. I mean, we just.
What are you doing that you wouldn't normally be doing with your defensive drills anyway?
Well, no. So we literally have separate drills, like a separate period that he calls. Like, we do something different every week, but what we two of the main points of emphasis coming into this season, were our tackling and takeaways, and so on Wednesday practices, when we have our pads on, generally. We have a tackling period, like a tackling circuit or something, where at the end of individual period, it's about depending on the kind of week, it's a 3 to 5 minute period that every group does tackling. Sometimes we circuit it and kind of do drills at each spot and move guys around. Sometimes it's like in their own groups. And then on Thursdays, we do the same thing with takeaways. So whether it's certain ball drills we're trying to work, or working on punching and ripping balls out and scooping, today we did kind of a little return drill. We've been getting our hands on balls, and I would say our interception returns are average to below average right now, so we're trying to work on understanding, like, hey, like, guys are watching, we're picking the ball off, and guys are watching it happen instead of turning and trying to lead, convoy back up the field. Like, hey, we're getting our hands on some balls, now we're the offense. Like, let's try to go do something with it. So today, today's emphasis was on, hey, when we do recover a fumble or we do get an interception, like, let's go do something with it. The play's not over, Let's not just all watch and celebrate, and, So it's different every week, but just saying that every day, every Wednesday we're doing a tackling something, where it's emphasizing something, where it's an extra drill or something special, and every Thursday we're doing a turnover something. Could be a circuit, could be just certain ball drills, tip drills, could be fumble recovery or strip drills, ball carry, ripping things out. Whatever it is, we change it up week to week, but there's a point of emphasis to saying every week we're going to do this. Now, obviously, within our periods in practice, we're emphasizing, taking the ball away when it's in the air, and we're scooping every ball up on the ground and those sort of things. So within the course of practice, that's just naturally how it goes. But then we have this additional period that Adam's built into the schedule that's saying we're going to take, say, 5 minutes a day, and then we're focusing on tackling, or all we're focusing on this period is takeaways, not anything else that's going on. So hopefully we keep seeing the fruits of those labors.
What's the most unconventional thing you think you've done during one of those periods?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Like something that just would be very creative, a very creative drill to practice.
Well, I don't think it has to be creative.
Turnovers are so much randomness.
Well, fumbles are. Yeah, I mean, again, you got to, fumble recoveries are random, but again, our philosophy, like in that world, is the more fumbles there are, the more opportunities you have, and you eliminate some of that randomness. So if we're attacking the ball, if we're always punching at the ball, the second guy in, and always trying to strip at things, well, if you put more balls on the ground, like the randomness, you at least have more opportunities to recover the ball. You know what I mean? So, in our coverage element things, I mean, we've tried to be aggressive, and we have a sort of a multi coverage package. So we change looks, and we try to give, different looks on one thing and drop in and try to, I don't want to say confuse quarterbacks, but we try to disguise what we're doing, and sometimes you get some balls thrown into it. But again, some of the emphasis is just running to the ball. So when it does get tipped, there's bodies there to catch it, you know what I mean? So I don't think we're doing like these unusual, like unheard of drills that no one has ever seen before. I'm not trying to give away my secrets or something, but again, I think you plant that seed in people's minds, and you just keep talking and talking. It's like maybe it's like some Inception stuff. I don't know. We went back a couple levels and put turnovers in their minds, and it's been successful so far. So hopefully keep going. Okay.
Next question.
That story is running today, by the way. It's going to be good.
I'm sure Matt will send it to me.
Very good.
When it comes to Mike Gesicki and his transition to NFL blocking and route running, how is it going?
route running has been good. He's made a lot of strides in the blocking. You know, I think yesterday especially, it was very noticeable. Some of the techniques that they've been working on have really been improving, and just kind of seeing how much pride he's trying to, you know, he's taking in it and trying to do everything right. You know, that's all you can ask for, and he's really been working on it, and he wants to be the guy that can be effective in it.
What's the key to improving throughout the course of the season? That's what kind of your key was in 16. What is the key to doing that?
Keep working on fundamentals. I mean, that's why we spend a lot of time on the individual. You know, I mean, I don't even know how much time I felt like we were longer this week. We extended the time a little bit. I know a lot of the coaches were excited about that. Probably the players not so much, just because it's a good amount. I mean, they don't stop. I mean, it's nonstop. So, but it's good work for us, and it translates over to games.
Did you have a sense in 16 that you're about to go on a run?
Probably, like I remember the first game, I felt good about the week of practice. But, I mean, you never can predict how many games you can win in a row and things like that. I mean, because you're so focused on one, and then you kind of forget that you won the week before. So you just, I mean, everything's so just compartmentalized. I mean, you don't worry about how many you win in a row. You're just trying to get that 1 week.
And I guess that logical question, what gives you encouragement that your best football is ahead of you?
Because I watch these guys practice every day. You know, I watch these guys try to get better and try to do it right. You know, it's last 2 days, you guys have been great energy and work hard. And, you know, when we go out on Wednesdays, it's not like it's 65 degrees and cloud cover. I mean, you're going to get tested, you know, just from being down here, which is great for us because it weeds people out real fast.
With this offense, in terms of the receivers, and there's tons of speed, but not that much size right now without Devontae Parker. What is the best way to get them open in press coverage?
Well, a lot of times those guys are doing a good job. We just got to make sure that we protect or we get the ball out on time and give those guys opportunities to run after catch. I mean, Jakeem's done a great job as far as being one guy that's always creating separation at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he is a very tough guy for DBs to get their hands on. You know, Albert's a little different as far as the way he runs some of his routes because he's stronger and a little thicker to where he can power through some stuff. And then Kenny, you know, a lot of times his is just straight. You know, once he gets those first 2 steps and he gets clean of a DB, he's going to win. So, I mean, are there times where we need to take some better releases or do something different? Yeah. But I think for the majority of the time, we are shaking free. It's just we gotta be a little bit on the same page, a little more between front, quarterback, receivers, everybody. We need to have success at the same time.
Is the timing of these passing plays being thrown off by the press?
No.
And I'm looking at Raekwon throughout the season, especially earlier. It seemed like he could get to the hole, but once a guy got his hands on him, that was kind of it. Is that accurate? And if so, how does a guy get better at breaking free when a guy gets his hands on you?
I think what he's doing right now is the way that he wants to play, where he's striking first instead of waiting for that guy to get his hands. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, the linebackers are smaller than the O-linemen. So, I mean, they get their hands on you. That's what science just tells you you're probably not going to be in good shape. So, I mean, he's doing a better job of striking first, separating from the block, and getting around the ball carrier.
And when you strike first, is how much of that is physical and how much of that is film study, knowing where the ball is?
It's repetition, really. It's just reaction. You know, I mean, if you understand what's going on schematically and the way the line's blocking, whether it's a gap scheme where you're seeing down blocks and a guy pulling around, things like that, compared to outside zone to inside zone, you know, that's just seeing it. You can watch it on film as much as you want, but I mean, you need to be out there. You needed to do it.
Looked like Raekwon, I guess Baker probably had their best game this past game. What did you see different?
I don't know. I've just given him a hard time saying, do we got to play in Ohio every week? You know, but I thought both of them played fast, and they did a good job of executing what Matt was calling. And when those two guys are doing that changes the whole dynamic of what we're doing, because now that ball's not getting past that second level if it does squirt through, you know, the run game, and they were really good in pass coverage.
When you think about Minka and Baker, the rookie defensive guys, what would be sort of a common trait that you think those guys have?
football instincts. I mean, they both just have a natural feel for the game, which is, something that's a great addition for us.
You and Matt Nagy have something in common. You both head coaches that call your own plays, and I know you might work 110 hours a week, but there's only a finite number of hours. The amount of time you put into planning the play calling, does that take you away from something else?
I don't know. I don't think so. You just figure out a way to get it done between that and, all the other duties that you have. I mean, there's ways to do it. I mean, you just got to figure out your time, and the hardest thing is if something creeps up you don't expect. You have to deal with something that takes away from their time. That's when you're in a race. You're in a race to Sunday.
Does something not unexpected come up every week?
No, not this year.
Does Kenyon Drake have a higher rate of runs that lose yardage, and does that than other guys, or than your other guys, and has that?
You're almost trying to start Armando on the podcast.
And has that affected how you consider using him?
I think it's probably been some games. Every game's been different. I think there's been some times where, he's trying to make a big play because he knows he has the ability to. He's done it in the past to where he makes one of those decisions that's millisecond decision, and he takes it to the house. Buffalo 16. Last year, I don't know how many times. And when it doesn't work, then that's when you get a negative play. And, really for us, we're always really talking to him about stay with it, especially early, kind of get in the flow of the game before you want to react like that. And it's hard to get a guy to do that all the time because he's going to go off of instincts. I mean, that's what makes him who he is just going off of this is what it feels like, and he goes and does it. And, he did a really good job last week, I thought, as far as helping us stay on track. There was a couple times where he tried to bounce it or do something that really wasn't designed for the play, and we got 0 yards or -1. But I think he did a good job of really cutting those back last week to where it was a lot of positive coming out of his touches, especially at running back.
Because you can't really get behind the sticks, no?
Right, that's the biggest thing. That's why I always look like Frank does a really good job of we're 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2. Now we get a first down, or it's 1st down, 2nd down, 1st down. And I think Kenyon's coming along in that area. It's just he does give you that element of 1st and 10, 60-yard touchdown or 40-yard touchdown to where now it's a game-changing play. So, I mean, that's experience. And I think the more he does it and the more he kind of understands the big picture, which I think it's coming together for him. So I'm just watching him practice and the way he's preparing. I think we're just going to keep seeing a better player every week.
How difficult is it to get two backs? Because you're a believer in a two-back system. How difficult is it to get two backs to buy in? Okay, we're better off when you share. We're better off when you play these roles.
This year was, both those guys respect each other. And I love the fact that Frank came in here, and once he kind of started practicing and those guys were working in meetings and stuff, he said it really early he's like, man, I respect this guy. This guy's legit. He's like, I really like working with this guy. When he practices and he's rolling, it's fun to watch. Like, for him to say that, that's a big compliment to me. And I think Kenyon has been one of those guys that he's coming from a place where there was always somebody else. It's not new to him. So, like, if you ask him, he's going to tell you the same thing. He's going to say, I just want to win. Like, that's what he's going to tell you all the time. And he's going to do anything he can to just be on the field, whether it's running back, we flex him out. I've said he tries to get on special teams. Like he's at all the special teams walkthroughs, meetings, all those type of things. Like, he's always trying to sneak in and do that stuff. We don't want him to do that right now. Like, it's not in his job description, no matter how much he wants to do it.
What did you think of the block that he laid before that screen pass?
It's probably one of the best plays I've ever seen. He chipped a guy, and then he's the check down, gets his head around, and then did a great job of getting north, accelerating through, made 3 guys miss. gets the first down. It was a great play and a big moment of the game.
With Balaj active the last few weeks, he's seen action from scrimmage. What's your vision for the use of him?
I mean, we'll just we're taking it 1 week at a time. I mean, he's doing a good job of, whatever he's asked to do, he does it full speed. That's a big man running. And I've enjoyed seeing him develop on special teams as well. He's taken a lot of pride in it. I think because that way that room's designed, where all those guys, really everybody has done special teams or plays special teams right now except for Frank, like, you better bring it in that area because all those guys are watching. And he's done a good job of impressing both Rizzy and Move as far as with what he can bring to special teams, and he's done a really good job of, if we had to play him, he knows what to do, and he plays fast.
What do you say to defense who may feel like their performance was kind of wasted, last week?
I don't have to say anything to them. I mean, they know they did a good job of what we asked them to do with who was healthy, and I thought the defensive staff put together a really good plan. We're just going to keep building off of that and hopefully keep getting healthy, and we just need to do a better job on offense and not turn the ball over.
What's the thought process with Charles Harris at defensive tackle or when he goes inside? Is it just to use his speed to?
His speed causes problems like when guards and centers, they like the slower moving guys. When you start putting all, some speed guys out there and then they start doing all their games and stuff like that, it's just hard to track guys and pass things off. And I mean, we see it every week to where they're defensive line coach like to test to see how well you're working on things in practice.
You know some things about Vic that can help you out.
It doesn't matter what I know because Vic's going to have a good plan. He's tough. He's very tough to go against, and he's extremely smart. And he's seen a lot of football. So our guys need to worry about executing what we're doing, and we can't worry about what they're doing.
How much is your
last question, guys?
How much does your, old knowledge or maybe Dowell's old knowledge of the Bears help you at all?
They'll use it against us more than anything. So, I mean, Vic knows what he's doing. I'd just say that.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the interviews. I hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, if you did, please hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends, post on Facebook, whatever. Hit the like button, and definitely leave me some comments, questions, concerns, anything you'd like to see or hear in the videos, stuff like that. So definitely let me know. And of course, the most important thing is subscribe. So with that said, I'll see you guys soon, and fins up.